Good day, everyone. My name is Asmeline Mimbala and I am the first reporter in our group. In this video, we're going to discuss about the Chapter 12, which is the types, characteristics, identifications of learners with difficulty remembering and focusing. So ano nga ba yung learning disabilities? I know that all of us have an idea with learning disabilities. Well, learning disabilities are what make academics particularly challenging for learners even if they are provided with adequate and appropriate instruction and despite having generally average level of intelligence. Meaning to say, even nasa average level pa lang yung intelligence ng isang bata, nahihirapan siya or nahihirapan yung isang learners maka-pick up sa kung ano yung dinidiscuss at ano yung instructions na binibigay sa kanila ng teachers. So there are various ways in which these two disabilities are defined and discussed, na kung saan yung mga teachers ay magkakaroon din sila ng idea or magkakaroon sila ng assessment tools para malaman kung yung students ba nila ay merong learning disability. Learning disabilities have been given different definitions. So ano-ano nga ba yung mga organization na nagbigay ng kanilang definitions about sa learning disabilities? So the first one is the Individual with Disabilities Education Act or IDEA or in short IDEA. One or more of the basic psychological process involved in understanding or in using language, whether spoken or written, that may manifest in terms of imperfect ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or to perform mathematical calculation. Ayon sa IDEA, sinasabi na ang learning disability is the basic psychological process that involved in understanding and pick upping the knowledge and perform it. Pero yung mga learners with disability ay nahihirapan sila sa pagsusulat, pagbabasa, sa spelling, at makapag-perform sa mathematical calculation. Meaning to say, kahit bigyan sila ng 3 hours, which is yung 3 hours na yun is reading, writing, at arithmetic, nahihirapan or mahihirapan pa rin silang i-perform yon. And it includes ito yung sinasabi nating perception disabilities, brain injury, minimal brain dysfunction, dyslexia, and etc. So psychological disorder or psychological process in the learning disabilities does not involve visual impairment, hearing impairment, motor disabilities, and so on. So there are 3 criteria involved in learning disabilities based on IDEA. The first one is serve discrepancy between one's intellectual ability and academic achievement. Ito yung gap between intellectual ability and the academic achievement ng learners ay masyadong hindi magka-level. Halimbawa, ito yung students na matalino naman, magaling sa ibang task, pero nahihirapan halimbawa sa pagbabasa at pagsusulat. The second one is learners' difficulties are not the result of another known conditions that can cause learning problems. Tulad ng sabi natin kanina na ang learning disability daw sa psychological process ayon sa IDEA ay nag-include ng perceptual disabilities and so on. So hindi visual impairment, hindi hearing impairment, hindi motor disabilities. Halimbawa, kung merong visual impairment yung isang bata, it's not the cause kung bakit nagkakaroon ng learning disability pagdating dito sa component na to. Number 3, there is a need for special education services. Meaning to say, dapat merong remedial or dapat there are additional services para sa mga learners para matuto pa sila at maturuan pa sila ng maayos at tama at para mas ma-improve nila yung kanilang learning. So, ang pangalawang organization na nagbigay ng kanilang definition about sa learning disabilities is the National Joint Commission on Learning Disabilities or NGCLD. So, general term referring to a heterogeneous group of disabilities in acquiring and using basic literacy and numeracy. So, from the word heterogeneous, meaning to say, hindi lang siya isa or dalawa, kundi it's a group of disabilities. There are similar to the idea. Meron silang pagkakapareho doon sa definition ng idea, which is the learners is struggling when it comes to spelling, writing, reading, and to the mathematical calculation. So the main cause of this is the dysfunction in central nervous system. Meaning to say, hindi siya sa panglabas na impairment, kundi sa loob ng katawan ng isang tao. So ang pangatlo is the American Psychiatric Association or APA. So binigyan nila ng definition yon sa pamamagitan ng clinical and diagnostic settings. And instead, tawagin nila itong learning disabilities, they called it learning disorder. So why is it learning disorder? Because it is a neurodevelopmental disorder that hinders one from learning academic skills. So we have here the characteristics and types of learning disabilities. Number 1 is learning problems or what we call dyslexia. So alam naman natin na kapag ang bata ay nahihirapan sa pagbabasa, ang tawag doon ay meron siyang dyslexia. Learners have difficulties with accurate and or fluent recognition in poor spelling and decoding abilities. So, nahihirapan ang isang bata or ang isang learners sa pagbabasa, meron siyang dyslexia. Number 2 is written language deficits. Learners' ability in terms of mechanics of writing is way below what is expected of their age. Ibig sabihin dito, let us say, at the age of 8, dapat marunong na yung isang learners magsulat ng kanyang pangalan. Pero, kung at the age of 8 ay abakada pa lang yung naisusulat niya, ibig sabihin nun, meron siyang written language deficits. So, hindi nagmamatch yung dapat niyang makaya or dapat niyang maisulat at that age. So, ibig sabihin nun, meron siyang written language deficits. Number 3 is math underachievement. Learners perform poorly than their peers in every type of math problem. Dito naman, ibig sabihin, mahina yung performance ng isang bata or ng isang learner pagdating sa math or sa numbers. Kasi minsan, nahihirapan silang i-remember ito or nahihirapan silang mag-focus dito. Number 4 is the poor social skills. They are prone to interpersonal problems which often lead to rejection, low social status, unpleasant interaction with teachers, difficulty making friends, and loneliness. So, it is one of the characteristics ng isang learner with learning disorder. When we say poor social skills, ito yung interpersonal problem. The learners are struggling to communicate with others. This kind of characteristics of learners are they became antisocial. Number 5 is the attention deficit and hyperactivity or what we call the ADHD. They have difficulty paying attention to particular task or become overly active. So yun nga, ito yung learners na hindi makapag-pay attention or makapag-focus in a particular task. And then, nagiging overly active yung isang bata or yung isang learners. Okay, so the number 6 is behavior problems. Incidences of behavior problems among those with learning disability are higher than usual. Upon adolescence, those with learning disabilities are more likely to show risk-taking behavior such as smoking, marijuana use, delinquency, aggressiveness, and gambling. So dito naman, yung behavior problems ng isang learners with disabilities or disorder, so ito yung mahilig mag-smoke, magaling mag-inuman, mag-marijuana, sila yung mga may bisyo, lalo na yung mga may aggressive behavior. Number 7 is low self-esteem or self-efficacy. Ito yung mga learners na dinadown nila yung sarili nila. Like, they can't trust themselves or hindi nila kayang pagkatiwalaan yung kanilang sarili. To diagnose learning disorders, the APA or American Psychiatric Association 2013 uses the following specific characteristics. Number 1 is with impairment in reading or dyslexia. Just like what I've said earlier, dyslexia is yung mga learners na nahihirapan or may problem with reading. So, it involves their word reading accuracy, grammar and punctuation, um, reading comprehension. Number 2 is with impairment expression. It includes spelling accuracy, grammar and punctuation, clarity or organization, or written expression. So the learners make lots of spelling mistakes even with easy words. Their sentences are hard to understand because of mistake with grammar and punctuation. Their writing is hard to follow because their ideas aren't in order. Number 3 is with impairment in mathematics, or what we call dyscalculia. Being a learner with impairment in mathematics isn't just being bad at math, but having problems with basic math ideas. With this naman, it includes number sense, memorization, or arithmetic facts accurate or fluent calculations, accurate math, reasoning. Severity may also be classified as the first one is the mild. Students with mild learning disabilities have some academic difficulties in one or two areas, such as reading or math. However, through appropriate accommodations or support services, such as extra tutoring or assistive technology, they usually can compensate and make adequate progress. For example, a student may have trouble with spelling but is proficient in other subjects. With more spelling practice and strategies, they can keep up with their peers. The second one is the moderate. In one or more academic domains, students with moderate learning disabilities face more substantial difficulties. These challenges have a substantial impact on their learning, which means they are apparent. They will probably need some time in school for focus and specialized instruction before they can become proficient. For example, reading comprehension is a major problem for a student, which affects their performance in all disciplines. A specialized program for reading intervention could be beneficial to them. So the third one is the severe. The severe or the students with severe learning disabilities or disorders face severe problems in many academic areas. Their problems are so grave that they would not learn such skills unless they have continuing, intensive, individualized, and specific teaching at school. For example, a student struggles deeply with reading, writing, and math and needs an educational plan very highly individualized with much support.
So good day everyone, I am Hanifa B. Pango and this is my assigned topic which is causes of learning disabilities. The first one is heredity. Learning disabilities often run in the family. It is not uncommon for one with learning disabilities to have parents or other relatives with the same condition.
So, heredity, this is the learning disability which is na-adapt ng bata dun sa parents niya or sa relatives niya. For example, sa klase, nahihirapan magbasa or magsulat yung bata. Posible kasing yung parents or isa sa relatives niya is may mga history na nahihirapan silang magbasa or magsulat. So, posibleng doon na-adapt nung bata yung ganong difficulties.
So the second one is problems during pregnancy and birth. Learning disabilities could be due to the illness or injury before birth. Also, it could be caused by low birth weight, lack of oxygen, drug, and alcohol use during pregnancy and premature or prolonged labor.
So, these disabilities is ito yung sinapupunan pa yung bata. For example, yung nanay is habang buntis is nag-take siya ng alcohol, cigarette, or drugs. So, pwede yun maapektuhan yung maayos na pag-develop ng utak ng bata. And yung hindi tamang pagkain ng nanay. So, pwede rin siya magresulta ng kakulangan sa nutrisyon na mahalaga dun sa utak ng bata. Pwedeng paglabas ng bata is hindi na siya normal.
The last one is incidence after birth. It could also be due to head injuries, nutritional deprivation, and exposure to toxic substances such as lead.
So, isa ito sa cause of learning disabilities. Halimbawa na aksidente yung bata, like nabagok yung ulo niya or nagkaroon siya ng sugat sa utak. For example is yung mga part na utak niya na connect siya sa memory or pag-iisip ng bata is naapektuhan. So, kaya nahihirapan yung bata na matutunan yung mga simpleng activities lang sa classroom.
Next is identification and assessment of learners with learning disabilities.
So, ito yung test para malaman kung gaano katalino yung isang bata at kung gaano siya kagaling sa school. For example, sa intelligence test, gumamit ng IQ test yung teacher para makita niya yung kakayahan ng utak ng bata sa pag-isip. Then sa achievement test naman is sinusukat nito kung ano yung natutunan ng bata dun sa gitopic ng teacher. So, kung normal or sobra yung talino ng bata, then mababa yung result niya sa achievement test, posibleng may disabilities yung bata. So, ang resulta nito is tumutulong para maintindihan kung ang problema ba ng bata is kakayahan sa pagkatuto at hindi kakulangan sa talino.
The next is criterion reference test. Test that measures a student's performance against a predetermined standards or criteria. The test score shows how close the student is to the standards, and the test taker's a performance is not compared to the other students. So criterion reference test. So this test check if a student has learned specific skills or knowledge based on a set of standard or criteria. For example, it might test if a student can multiply numbers or write a complete sentence. Instead of comparing the students to others, it looks at whether they meet the standards. And the last one is curriculum-based measurement, a set of procedures that teachers use to assess how well students are learning basic academic skills.
So, this test is sinusuri kung gumagaling ba or natututo ba yung isang bata. For example, imbis na magbigay ng long test yung teacher is magbigay na lang siya ng short test every week or months. So, for example, nagbigay yung teacher ng test about basic multiplication. Then, every nagbigay siya ng test is hindi pa rin natututo yung isang bata. So, doon niya malalaman na kailangan pa niyang magturo ng iba't ibang practice about multiplication. So, this test is hindi siya hindi pinapahiya hindi sinusukat dito para ipahiya yung bata, kundi para malaman kung saan siya mahina or saan siya magaling.
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder or ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition characterized by symptoms of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. These symptoms can impact various aspects of life, including school, work, and relationships.
So, ang ADHD ay isang neurological condition na nakakaapekto sa kakayahan ng isang tao na mag-concentrate, mag-focus, or kontrolin yung kanilang galaw or impulsive behavior. So, kadalasan nagsisimula siya sa pagkabata hanggang sa nagpapatuloy siya hanggang sa pagtanda ng isang tao.
And this is the characteristics of learners with ADHD. The first one is inattention, difficulty focusing, following through on tasks, forgetfulness, and easily distracted.
inattention or hirap mag-focus. So, madalas nahihirapan sila mag-concentrate sa isang bagay lalo na pag boring. Halimbawa, gumawa siya ng homework, then hindi niya natapos kasi na-distract siya sa ibang bagay, like halimbawa maingay sa paligid. Then pag kinakausap mo is parang hindi siya nakikinig. Then madalas din nakakalimutan yung mga instructions, and nawawalan din siya ng gamit.
The second one is hyperactivity. They might stand up, walk around, and run even though it's not necessary, like during class time.
So, hyperactivity is ito yung hindi mapakali sa upuan. Kumbaga gusto nila is lagi silang gumagalaw. Mahilig silang tumayo, maglakad, or tumakbo kahit nasa loob ng classroom, kahit nag-discuss yung teacher. Hyperactivity, which is ito yung mga taong hindi sila mapakali kung pag nagastay lang sila, dapat is lagi silang gumagalaw.
The last one is impulsivity. They have trouble waiting their turn, like when playing games or answering questions in class.
So, impulsivity is ito yung di sila naghihintay ng turn. Halimbawa sa laro or pagsagot ng tanong sa klase. Sumasagot sila or gumagawa sila ng aksyon nang hindi nila pinag-iisipan yung resulta. So, nahihirapan din silang kontrolin yung emotion nila and reaction nila, kaya nagkakaroon sila ng problema sa ibang bata.
Good day everyone, my name is Johanna S. Mopandi and I am the last reporter in this group. I'm going to discuss to you po the usual comorbidity of ADHD. When we say comorbidity of ADHD means that a person with ADHD also have one or more other conditions or disorders at the same time. It's like having two or more things going on together. Ang comorbidity means that these different puzzle pieces fit together in the same person. So someone with ADHD might also have OCD or they might have ADHD and dyslexia. Yung nakikita nyo po sa aking presentation. It's important po to remember that these conditions can be different for everyone. And having one condition doesn't automatically mean you'll have another, but it's common for people with ADHD to also have other challenges. Imagine you have a friend who has ADHD. Sometimes they might also have some other challenges alongside their ADHD. This list describes some of those common challenges. OCD. When we say OCD po, is like having a really strong urge to do things over and over again, even if it doesn't make sense. Ang ODD naman po is getting really upset and argumentative with grown-ups even they're trying to help. Ang CD naman po is doing things that are against the rules, like breaking things or being mean to others. Ang substance abuse naman po is having trouble controlling how much they use things like alcohol or drugs. Ang dyspraxia naman po is having trouble with things like tying their shoes or writing neatly. Ang sleep orders. So, alam nyo na to. Ang sleep orders is having a trouble falling asleep or staying asleep or feeling tired all the time. Ang speech and language naman po is having trouble talking clearly or understanding what others says. Ang anxiety and depression. Ang anxiety and depression, I think ito yung nararanasan natin ngayon na third year tayo. Feeling really worried or sad for a long time. Ang Asperger's syndrome is finding it's hard to understand social chaos and make friends. Ang tics or Tourette's is having sudden jerky movements or making noises they can't control. Ang bipolar disorder naman is having a big mood swings, going from really happy to really sad. Ang dyslexia Na-discuss na rin to ng other group, di ba? So, ang dyslexia po is having trouble reading and spelling. So, it is important to remember that these challenges can be different for everyone. If your friend is struggling with any of these, it's good to talk to a grown-up they trust, like a parent, yung mga parents natin, or teachers, or a doctor. So, may causes po tayo ng ADHD. So, according to the scientists, still don't fully understand what the causes of ADHD. It could be a mix of things like brain differences, genetics, and environmental factors. So, meron po tayong mga simple explanation po dito for each. So, ang X syndrome or Fragile X syndrome is a genetic condition caused by a mutation in the FMR1 gene on the X chromosome. So, it can lead to learning disabilities, developmental delays, and something behavioral challenges like hyperactive or anxiety. People with this syndrome may also have unique physical traits like a long face or large ears. So, ang toner syndrome naman po is this condition only affects females and happens when one of their X chromosomes is missing or incomplete. Ang common traits include is being shorter than average, delayed, poverty, and sometimes heart or kidney problems. It doesn't usually affect intelligence, but some girls might have trouble with math or spatial understanding. So, dito naman kay Williams syndrome, it caused by a small piece of missing DNA on chromosome 7. So, the people here with this syndrome are often very friendly and talkative with a love for music. It can cause developmental delays, learning difficulties, and unique facial features like a broad forehead or small chin. They might also have heart problems or sensitivity to sounds. So, according sa teachers naman is teachers can use a special tool for this para ma-identify nila yung mga students nila with ADHD na may comorbidity. So, meron silang ginagamit na Vanderbilt ADHD Diagnostic Teacher Rating Scale to help identify students who might have ADHD. This skill po looks for certain behaviors that are common in ADHD. So, sa book is nakalagay po dyan yung treatment na maaaring gimension po dyan sa book na that ADHD can be treated but it doesn't go into detailed about specific treatments. Hindi po doon nasabi. So, balik po tayo doon sa sinabi ko na the Vanderbilt ADHD Diagnostic Teaching Rating Scale is nagdi-describe po siya in more detailed explaining how it works and what behaviors it looks for. It's a way for teachers po, also as a future teachers, to gather information about a student's behavior and see if it matches the characteristic of ADHD. The Vanderbilt ADHD Diagnostic Teacher Rating Scale is a tool used by teachers to help identify symptoms of attention deficit hyperactive disorder in children. It's simple and involves filling out a form about the child's behavior in the classroom. So, makikita nyo yan sa aking presentation. So, this skill po is a part of a bigger process that involves input for both teachers and parents. Yes, to get a complete picture of the child's behavior in different settings. Naintindihan po. So, let's proceed to typical typical and atypical development. So I think na-discuss na rin to ni Miss Valent Ayana Ashria Baldeo, 'di ba, sa report niya. So makikita niyo po dyan sa table is ang 0 to 1 year old is extremely distractible babies, easily shift focus and have short attention spans. Ang 1 to 2 years old naman po is concentrates on task of own choosing. Ito yung toddlers can focus on activities they like but might struggle with structured tasks. Ang 2 to 3 years old naman po is can shift attention from one activity to another with adults' help. Yes, kailangan to ng adults' help. They begin transitioning between tasks but need guidance. 3 to 4 years old naman po is can switch attention without adults' help. Ito naman po yung hindi na kailangan ng adults. Preschoolers become more independent in moving focus between activities. Ang 4 to 5 years old naman po is attention is two-way. They can maintain attention while also interacting or responding to others. Example, in conversation or group activities sa school. Ang 5 to 6 years olds naman po is attention is established and sustained. Children can concentrate on tasks for longer periods even without external help. So, pag sinabi po natin na atypical development, ang atypical development po is refers to situations with children do not reach the attention milestone expected for their age. For example, if a 4-year-old struggles to switch attention without an adult's help, it might indicate a delay. This could be due to conditions like ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, where attention, focus, and self-control are more challenging. Ang ADHD treatment is medication like stimulants and behaviorally based intervention are common. Strategies include using positive reinforcements, breaking tasks into smaller parts, and modifying learning environments to suit the children's needs. Self-control and task management are systematically taught. Understanding the differences between typical and atypical developments help teachers and parents identify if a child's need extra support to improve attention and focus. So, yan lang po yung report ko. Thank you for listening.